Now we know our different typefaces. I want to talk a little bit about proportional versus monospaced. Now in proportional typefaces, the space a character takes up is dependent on the natural width of that character. So obviously an I is going to take up far less space than an M would. Times New Roman is an example of a proportional typeface. Now in monospaced typefaces, each character takes up the exact same amount of space, and narrow characters simply get a bit more spacing around them to make up for the difference in width. And we can see this with the courier. Now let's talk about mood. The mood of a typeface is an important part of how it should be used, and different typefaces have strikingly different moods. And commonly used moods include formal versus informal, and then you have modern versus classical or traditional, and then you can have light versus dramatic. Now some typefaces have very distinct moods. For example, Times New Roman, the most commonly used font on earth, is pretty much always going to be a traditional font, which is why it's so commonly used for business correspondence. Now Verdana, on the other hand, has more of a modern mood. Now some typefaces are more transcendent and can convey almost any mood based on the content of the other typefaces they're combined with. And Helvetica is often considered one of these fonts. So it really can depend on how they're used, and different moods can be created by interacting with different fonts. Now another important aspect is weight and style. Now within a majority of typefaces you'll find more than one style and or weight. And weights are often classified as light, thin, regular, medium, bold, heavy, or black. And each of these simply refers to the thickness of strokes that make up the characters. And I like to use thinner, lighter font weights. It tends to make things look more modern, and I tend to deviate towards a more modern design unless I'm working on, a traditional website or graphics for someone. Maybe it's a law firm. I really do like the modernness of lighter weights. Now, there are three general styles you'll find with many typefaces. You have italic, oblique, and small caps. And small caps are often used for headings or subheadings to add a variety to your typography if using a single typeface. And italic and oblique are often confused, or they're used interchangeably, but they're very two unique, distinct styles. Oblique type is simply a slanted version of regular characters. So you could create this using the distort function in Photoshop, and we're not going to go ahead and do this in this course because we're really just focusing on user interface. Although sometimes a separate oblique font is included when you download a certain typeface. Now italics are slanted like obliques, but they are a completely separate set of characters with their own unique letter forms. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the anatomy of typeface and the different characteristics that make up individual characters.